the nature of TikTok that's very authentic. People want an entertainment experience in sales. And so often if we're posting that on organic, it's going to do well in the sales environment as well, because people are shopping because of that authenticity.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of What's Working in E-commerce. I'm your host, Egan Heath. I own a digital marketing agency, and we do direct-to-consumer e-commerce marketing. That can be paid search, paid social, and email automation. It used to be called Caravan Digital, and we recently rebranded to Asymmetric Marketing. You can find us at asymmetric.pro to check it out. Today, I'm speaking with a TikTok ads expert. I'm really excited. This is Natalie Hughes, who is an account manager there, but she's also done paid social for many years. And we spoke with her colleague, Nikki, most recently. And I'm excited to have Natalie on. Natalie, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here and represent Pennock Agency.
Yeah, thank you for coming. This is great. So I know you said you did some meta ads, Facebook and Instagram side, doing more TikTok now and doing the account management side too. What do you think of as the differences? Like, how do you guys approach it differently for clients and for brands?
Yes. So I would say, specifically to speaking to TikTok, it's a completely different beast. And I think that's what makes it so important and so powerful. And I'm not sure that everyone quite understands yet the power. I think when TikTok first rolled out, we're all excited. It's cool. It's doom scrolling, as some people kind of refer to it, but really it's way more than that. It's evolved to not just a marketing channel, but a sales tool. So that's one thing that's quite different, is that it's an all-in-one tool that's not just a marketing channel, but also a sales center. And also it has the ability to knock out more than one marketing objective with one piece of content. It's an equal awareness player as it is a conversion player. And so it's this new social space that is unlike, I would say, Meta, Facebook and Instagram. And, if anything, the similarities are probably because I think that Facebook and Instagram have kind of caught on to a couple of the way that TikTok does things. And that's kind of why we see the similarities we do now. So I'd say they're very different.
Yeah, so like TikTok's leading the way, Meta's really pulling from them and trying to mimic what they're doing just because it's the popular up and coming platform. So I appreciate that. When you said it's not just marketing, it's sales, or it fulfills multiple parts of the funnel and things like that. Tell us about the sales part of it. What do you mean for people who aren't familiar with that?
Sure. So TikTok Shop is the thing that in my world, we love to hate, but we have to have. So and I say that we love to hate it because it's just, I think there's a big setup process, because essentially what it is it's another sales platform. It's like your Shopify. It's like whatever you use to process your sales. However, it is right there on platform. So it goes hand in hand with the nature of TikTok marketing, which is impulse buying and in the moment. And it connects authenticity right to the ability to check out there. So specifically to answer your question, TikTok does have TikTok Shop. And this is where businesses set up essentially their e-commerce channel. Like I said, there's a bit of setup, but that's because it does everything right there. It processes payments. It's going to create your order fulfillment and everything like that right on platform.
Yeah, that's great. I know, Facebook has rolled out equivalent things. There's Instagram as well. So this makes sense that it's going this direction. And it almost, what would you say, disintermediates? It almost pulls out the importance of the Shopify site or that e-commerce site. Now you just buy directly on the platform. What should brands have in place to get the setup? Sounds like there's some technical setup. We don't have to go blow by blow through that. But what should marketers have ready if they want to get going on TikTok Shop?
Yeah. So, kind of before we can get to TikTok Shop, I would recommend and encourage like an organic TikTok presence. So understanding how you're going to maintain an organic channel is kind of the first place, because you have to have content. There's a lot of tools to do that. There's the creator marketplace. We could kind of go down some options, but that's important because I see brands try to just kind of start from not doing the organic side. And although it can be done, there's some challenge there because we just have less learnings and things like that. So then once we get into the TikTok Shop, just kind of to throw a couple examples out, is really just going in and like setting it up as they probably had to do for a Shopify. So the good news is that, like I keep saying Shopify, that's kind of the most popular platform I use, but they do have direct integration to TikTok, but that doesn't mean the work is done. So the first step would be integrating. Usually you're going to be able to integrate with the sales platform you're using. But then once all that data is migrated in, going through and refining all the details. So that's checking your SKUs, optimizing your product descriptions, because it's different. It's showing on TikTok versus your website now. So those are the details. And then going through and doing a couple sample orders. I've heard a couple brands make the mistake of kind of getting things launched, getting orders in immediately, and then not quite knowing how to fulfill and how the process works. So it's really just kind of like going back to basics and establishing the standard operating procedure of actually how a shop would work before putting paid dollars behind it, before running those ads, because once you run the ads, you're going to get sales, and then you got to know where they go. So just familiarizing with that side of things.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for talking about that. When you guys run this for clients, are you running to Shopify as well, or do you find TikTok Shop outperforms so much that we don't even send to the website anymore?
Yeah, we do. We do send it to the website as well, or to Shopify. So I would say the ability to do both is what's important. And I know we've done some pretty extensive like case studies, at least in the meta space, on running both. And really what it comes down to is that we always run the option to do both, because the data is going to let us know what is the best avenue. And often with the way platforms are now, it's going to optimize that way as well. So for example, especially on Meta, but then it translates to TikTok, some of our brands just do much better with website conversions, even when both functions are turned on. And some do much better on platform itself, and some have a 50-50 split. So you really have to just be open to doing both and ready, and then kind of going from there.
Yeah, sounds like it's worth testing, trying both, see what works for your brand. That's excellent.
Absolutely.
I think you said have your organic going too. Don't just start running ads before you've got a TikTok presence. For people who aren't familiar, just share a little bit about why is that important, and how does the organic fit in with the paid strategy?
Sure. So really what we found is that, I mean, boosting or sparking, TikTok calls it, content is a super effective way to run paid media. It's efficient because it kind of knocks out two birds with one stone, meaning that we don't necessarily need to send a different request to creative to develop an asset for paid TikTok. It's more so of, we could post something on our TikTok page. It can do well. We see the engagement rate. We see some leading metrics, and then we decide to pick up that content and spark it. That's TikTok's word. Meta's equivalent to boosting a post. And it's, like I said, it's efficient from a data standpoint. We have an indicator of how it might do. And just because, again, of the nature of TikTok, that's very authentic. People want an entertainment experience in sales. And so often if we're posting that on organic, it's going to do well in the sales environment as well, because people are shopping because of that authenticity. Whereas some other platforms we see paid very, very salesy, so to speak, and very strong call to action, whereas TikTok content can be a little bit more fluid. To answer your question, I mean, the organic piece is just one, we get learnings. Two, we have the creative there anyways. And three, too, just building some social proof. So that way, should somebody visit our organic page and see we don't really do much, we're not up with the trends, like it's just not a great look.
Yeah. Are there I know you guys are kind of in particular verticals. Are there types of products that are better to sell on TikTok? Is there a price point, average order value people should be thinking about? When is this a great channel, and who does it work for? Who does it not work for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I recently was just in a seminar as well where a similar question was asked, and I'm going to reiterate sort of what I've heard and what I've seen, which is there actually is really not been a certain price point or average order value identified, because this could really work for selling anything from storage containers to eyelash extension. It's just about the ability to put out content that resonates in an organic and authentic way with people. And I think if that can be done, then it's worth a try on TikTok. So I guess I don't have a specific answer or niche group of brands, because I think TikTok's probably for everyone, every brand.
Yeah. And I know it's kind of this division of ad buyers, people kind of pulling the levers and doing that piece versus the creative side. How do you guys handle that? Are you working with influencers or people that make UGC type content? What's that process like, and what should people think through when they're thinking, creating the creative versus running the ads?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's often a challenge, especially for smaller brands with maybe less budget or less resources to a creative team. As we know, it's time consuming, it's personalized, and it's hard to quickly crank out, so to speak. And so what I would encourage is for everyone, big and small brands, to leverage the creator market space and to build up influencer programs. And I do think the TikTok creator marketplace is a great way is a great way to do that, because it's naturally where the creators are basically looking for opportunities, and they look for the opportunities based off their interest and based off their audience. They're not going to pick to work with a brand that doesn't do well with their audience, and having their organic, or excuse me, authentic interest in the product, I think just makes the content that is put out that much more quality. So I would say it's important to know when you come into the creator market space what it is you're looking for. There's a lot we could talk about with creative strategy and how you can provide direction to the creators, but often they know their audience best, and so they're going to do a great job. It's good to have guidelines and parameters set up. And so whether you're using that marketplace or you're manually recruiting influencers, just good to know of some parameters, but then also just look for creators, because they're going to be the creative ones who put out good content, and often they know what they're doing. So
Yeah, they know the platform, they know the audience. That makes sense. Just to be clear, they're sort of posting organic influencer content? They may get obviously they get affiliate commissions or whatever if it sells from their TikTok channel, but then you run those as your creative under your account as well. How does that part work?
yeah, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of kind of different ways that can be structured. But yeah, essentially whitelisting. So kind of on the back end technical side of things, a partnership is established. We get post IDs. The creator authorizes us to use the post, and we pull it into our paid media platform. So it's posted organically often. I mean, this one way it's posted organically on their page, and then we're pulling it and putting paid dollars behind it, but still, from their page.
Yeah, your ad account, their page. So it's got
Exactly.
that kind of influencer cred. Very cool. Anything on the pixel setup side of the analytics? I know you're an account manager. How does that work if people are used to Meta, but they maybe haven't done a lot with the TikTok ads?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, especially if you, again, I think a lot of brands are using some of the shopping platforms for their website management rather than manual setup and manual pixel coding and things like that. And platforms like Shopify make it really easy. So as long as you're of course, there's always the occasional pixels down or something was changed, but it's really pretty straightforward, I would say, as far as that goes. And then since they integrate, you do get those insights pretty clearly as far, on that side of things. So yeah, it hasn't been too bad as far as the pixel and tracking side of things go. On TikTok, I'm excited and I'm hoping for a little bit deeper reporting. It does a good job, but I think it's probably something that's a personal craving across all platforms, is just our brands, and everyone wants to know about our audiences. And so I think the more that the platforms can give us that type of information, despite the changes in tracking and cookieless world, the better. But other than that, not many complaints about that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Meta's a more mature platform, would expect that to be further built out, but obviously attention is shifting to this new one. This is an emerging platform, or it's like you say, it's already underway, right? This is happening. You guys are driving results right now, but the tools aren't going to be as advanced, just like we saw going from Google ads to Facebook ads. We didn't always have all that data there, so that's great. I wonder if you could give us a sense on some of the metrics. I know you're on multiple accounts and seeing different things out there. What's cost per click look like? What's CPM look like? Are you watching ROAS and CPA? I'm just curious, what are the metrics you guys look at? And give us some benchmarks just so we know, and we can kind of compare. If we're used to Meta ads, hey, what's possible on TikTok?
Yeah, it's a loaded question because there's quite a range. I would say, in my world, I look at all of the above. I would say the strength of TikTok that I continuously, if the word awareness is coming into play, we're on TikTok, because CPMs are outstanding. They are absolutely beating Meta by I have, on one account, it's actually a partnership with Sephora. We are, on TikTok, we see half the CPM that we see on Meta, if not more. So absolutely. As far as click goes, clicks aren't as important on TikTok. It kind of depends on what we're trying to achieve. But really, yeah, it just depends, I guess. And another example, actually, same client, but different kind of strategy is, on the awareness level, we're trying to get CPM and video views along with that to make sure that they're quality. But then we're converting those viewers or the engagers into our remarketing audience. So it's not as important because our website visitor audience isn't our main pie there at the bottom of funnel. It's the social engagers. So it's less important to have that click and more important to have, the engagement. So engagement rate is another one. Video views, taking engagement rate with video views into consideration, I would say is super important because when you're looking at CPM to measure the quality of it, you have to have the engagement rate in there. I will warn, and I'm sure across the marketing space, but a 0.1% engagement rate is not alarming and it seems super low, but again, I've seen that range a lot. So don't quote me on what you're seeing exactly there, but and as far as CPM goes, around $3 I would say is a common in a case I'm thinking of now. So yeah, so it's a couple. We are doing ROAS too, and it's been a journey to get a stable ROAS. I would say that's been fortunately, a lot of the brands I've worked with are patient and understand it's an awareness tool, but we are to the point. I mean, one account, I would say an average of 2 to 5. Right now we're at 5, in January on TikTok. So it's pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah, really solid and extremely low CPMs, even if you're in the neighborhood of what you're saying. I think many of us have seen once upon a time, Facebook was 10, 12, 15. Now it's more 20 plus for CPMs. I think is pretty normal. So this is January 2024 when we're speaking. We didn't talk too much yet about targeting. Maybe you mentioned it, but can you say more about the audiences and just how you guys think about targeting and approach that in the account?
Yeah. So obviously it's just kind of important to consider first at the platform level, like who are we trying to target? If our audience is 60 plus, that may not be the space. So that's probably a pretty obvious one to start there and just making sure that TikTok is the space to hit your target audience. But then from there, I mean, of course, there's all the same settings that you'd see across the board. There's gender and age and all the demographic stuff. But then what's a little bit different is it's not just interest targeting, it's hashtag targeting is as well. So I guess that is interest in a way, but it's a little bit different because it's more about what trends you're hopping on and what group of videos people are watching more than necessarily an interest you've been grouped into, if that makes sense. So it's a little bit more fluid, I would say, too. Typically, broader is better these days, in my opinion, within reason. So it's we're not going to do stuff that we just know doesn't make sense. But often I like to test against like an interest in hashtag grouping to a more open within our demographic because the results can just be totally different.
Yeah, that's great. We've covered a lot here, Natalie. This is phenomenal. Any other tips for people, especially if they're coming from Meta ads, they're just getting started on TikTok ads? Anything that you think people should give a shot that seems to be working here early in 2024?
Yeah, I would just say be patient, try things, and there is not going to be a formula that works for everybody on TikTok. Be authentic and absolutely utilize creator content. And yeah, other than that, yeah, like I said, that kind of covers a lot because there's just so much you can test, so much you can play with, and finding your unique strategy. That's what makes TikTok viral. That's what makes, the ability, it really levels the playing field for small businesses. And because a small business can go overnight, but you don't know unless you stick some things on the wall.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing this knowledge here, Natalie. We'll have to have you back on again. Maybe you could show us some creative or show us some accounts. I would love to keep up with you on as this changes and as you guys develop the channel. That's just awesome. I know you guys are at Pennock.co. I got PENNOCK.co. Anywhere else, people can find you or where they should reach out to get in touch?
Sure. I mean, never hesitate to shoot me an email. It's Natalie@Pennock.co. And then, of course, you talk to our CEO and founder, Nikki, at Pennock.co. So we always like a personal conversation in addition to, of course, checking out our website. Don't hesitate to shoot us an email as well.
Yeah, love it. All right. Well, thanks so much, Natalie. Thank you for coming
Cool.
on and sharing what's working in e-commerce.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having me.